All right, buckle up because today we're going deep, and I mean deep, into a corner of the Marvel universe where the fire's always burning and the family drama could raise hell all on its own.
Sounds intriguing.
Oh, it gets better. Today's target, Damon Hellstrom.
The son of Satan himself.
Yeah.
That's a deep dive I can get behind.
You and me both, and thankfully someone out there, you know who you are, sent us a mountain of intel on this guy. Comics, backstories, even some, shall we say, academic perspectives, so no shortage of material to work with.
Someone's clearly as fascinated by Hellstrom as we are.
To say the least, which is why we're here, right? To unpack what makes Damon Hellstrom more than just a spooky name.
And trust me, there's a lot more to unpack than just the name.
See, that's what has me hooked already. The source material paints this picture of a guy born into, well, hell, and I'm not just talking about the fire and brimstone. His family tree alone is enough to make your head spin.
Oh, absolutely. Where do we even begin? A demon lord for a father.
Don't forget, a demon lord pretending to be Satan.
Right, the audacity of that. Talk about an ambition complex.
It's like he looked at the role of ultimate evil and thought, nah, I can up the ante.
And it speaks volumes about the forces Damon's up against, even from birth. I mean, how do you rebel against a dad who's trying to outdevil the devil?
And then there's Victoria, his mother, a tragic figure if there ever was one. I was looking over excerpts from her diary. Talk about heartbreaking stuff. She had no idea the man she fell for was anything other than human.
Her story adds a whole other layer to this idea of deception, of evil lurking beneath the charming surface. It taps into something very primal, a fear that resonates on a human level, regardless of whether you believe in demons or not.
Absolutely, that fear of the unknown, of being betrayed by what you think you can trust.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder how much of Damon's path is shaped by that primal betrayal, how much is him trying to defy the darkness his mother unknowingly brought him into.
Okay, so you've got Daddy Dearest vying for King of Hell, a mother caught in a web of supernatural deceit. And because two kids weren't complicated enough, let's add Satana to the mix.
Ah, yes, the sister. And not just any sister, a succubus. Talk about keeping it in the family.
Right, you almost have to admire the commitment to the whole demonic offspring brand. But it does make you wonder, is that nature, nurture, or just a really unfortunate family resemblance?
That's the million-dollar question with Damon, isn't it? Is he destined to follow in his father's footsteps, or is he capable of choosing a different path? It's this classic nature versus nurture dilemma, but with a hellish twist.
And one we'll have to keep unpacking as we go deeper into this whole Damon Hellstrom saga. So we've got this incredibly complex family dynamic, a recipe for disaster even without the whole demon lord thing thrown in. But then the question becomes, how does Damon actually deal with all this baggage?
Well, you'd think someone rebelling against being the son of Satan might, try joining a book club, maybe take up pottery.
Right. Find a nice, quiet hobby to work through some of that youthful angst.
But no, Damon's idea of self-discovery involves battling demons, joining forces with some of the most morally questionable characters in the Marvel universe. It's a wild ride.
Yeah. Talk about an unorthodox coping mechanism. But you're right, the source material really highlights that Damon is out there, in the thick of it, constantly testing his own limits. We see him with the Defenders, for a time, fighting alongside the Shadow Hunters.
Don't forget his stint with the Hellfire Club. He even dipped his toes in those fiery waters.
It's like he's trying on different hats, different alliances, trying to figure out where he fits in this whole cosmic game of good versus evil.
And that's what makes his journey so compelling. It's not just about punching demons. It's about this constant internal struggle. He's trying to outrun his lineage, escape the shadow of his father. But where do you even begin when your dad's the literal devil?
Especially when he doesn't want to be the devil, which makes it even more complicated. It's like, Dad, stop trying so hard. Anyway, speaking of complicated relationships, we have to talk about Patsy Walker.
Ah, yes, Hellcat. Now, there's a relationship with some serious sparks.
To put it mildly, you've got this literal son of Satan falling for a superhero. Talk about a recipe for disaster. But amidst all the chaos and demon hunting, their relationship brings up a question. Can Damon Hellstrom, even with his heritage, even with all that darkness swirling around him, can he truly allow himself to love and be loved?
And I think the source material grapples with that question beautifully, particularly in that scene, the one I'm talking about, where Damon basically tells Patsy he'd rather see her dead than watch her sacrifice herself for him again.
Yeah, that scene is brutal. Talk about tough love. But in a way, it speaks to the depths of his fear.
Exactly. He's terrified of becoming his father, of hurting the one person who truly sees the good in him. He pushes Patsy away, not out of lack of love, but out of a desperate attempt to protect her from the darkness he's constantly battling within himself.
Which, ironically, might be the very thing that pushes her away for good. Talk about a no-win situation. You'd think being able to conjure soulfire would make dealing with relationship drama a bit easier. But I guess even demonic powers can't solve everything. Okay, so we've covered the family drama, the ethical tightrope walk. But what about the superpowers? Because let's be real, you don't get a name like Son of Satan without some serious abilities to back it up.
Oh, absolutely. And Hellstrom's powers aren't just cool, they're a direct manifestation of that whole inner turmoil we've been discussing.
So less party tricks, more existential crisis fuel.
Precisely. Take his soulfire, for instance. It's not just fire, it's like weaponized guilt and regret.
Yikes, that's even worse than I imagined. The source material did mention it could burn your soul, but still?
Think about it being burned by the very essence of your worst mistakes, your darkest impulses. That's soulfire.
Ouch. Okay, so maybe not the best party chick after all, but from a storytelling perspective, that's pretty powerful stuff. It's like his powers are an extension of that struggle between his demonic heritage and his desire to be something more.
Exactly. And then on top of the soulfire, you've got mentions of telepathy, time manipulation. He's got a whole grab bag of abilities, some of which haven't even been fully explored yet.
Right, and let's not forget the accessories. What's the deal with that netheranium trident? It sounds like something straight out of a metal album cover.
Well, the name isn't an accident. From what we can gather, netheranium is this incredibly rare material forged in the depths of, well, you could probably guess.
Let me guess, somewhere even hotter than that family reunion we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. It's said to have properties that can amplify mystical energies, making it the perfect power conduit for someone like Damon.
So it's less of a fashion statement, more like a demonic Swiss Army knife?
Got it.
Pretty much. And then, of course, there are the demonic steeds.
Oh, right. Can't forget about the hell horses. Hellcat, Aemon, Set. Those names alone could summon a mosh pit.
And they hint at a connection to mythology that runs deeper than just cool names. Hecate, tied to witchcraft and crossroads. Aemon, an Egyptian deity associated with power and protection. Set, a god of chaos and storms. Okay, so we've got soulfire, a supercharged trident, demon horses with their own IMDb pages. It's a lot to process. But when we step back and look at all of this, where does it leave Damon Hellstrom in the grand scheme of things? Is he good, bad, taking bets on it's complicated?
I think it's complicated might be the only accurate answer when it comes to Damon Hellstrom. He's a walking contradiction, a ruler of hell who protects Earth, a son battling his father's legacy while trying to carve out his own path.
And that's ultimately what makes him such a fascinating character to explore, right? He's a reflection of our own internal struggles, that push and pull between our darker impulses and our desire to be better.
Exactly. He embodies that gray area we all navigate, that constant tension between who we are and who we want to be.
And the best part is, just when you think you have Damon figured out, the source material throws you a curveball. Like that whole question of whether he's even the original Damon Hellstrom, multiple versions running around. My head's spinning.
It's a mind-bending concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it raises some huge questions about free will, destiny, the nature of good and evil.
See, this is why I love these deep dives. So there you have it. Damon Hellstrom, the son of Satan, who's anything but predictable. He's got the power, the backstory, and the sheer complexity to keep us theorizing for years to come.
And maybe that's the point. He's not here to give us easy answers, but to make us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves and the forces at play in the universe.
Well said. And on that note, we leave you with this. After diving into the inferno that is Damon Hellstrom's life, what side do you think he's truly on? Let us know.